All right, hello. We are on our flip video lesson 7.01, Elizabethan England and North American Initiatives. Goes along with your student guide, pages 178 to 181, and then also your Human Odyssey reading book, pages 272 to 289. Please make sure you are reading in your book. Just can't cover enough information in class and on the flip video lessons, so it is hugely important that you are reading your book and making sure that you're completing that and getting that done. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Unit introduction: changing empires, changing ideas. Elizabeth I was such a powerful monarch that she had an entire age named for her. In her hands, England grew from an island nation to a great world power. But struggles arose after Elizabeth brought civil war, and England never again granted its monarch so much power. At the same time, new ideas in science changed the way people thought and launched the modern era. Have you ever examined something to find out more about it? Or conducted a small experiment? Do you believe you can figure many things out by using your mind? That's the influence of the scientific revolution and Enlightenment. Lesson introduction: Elizabethan England and North American Initiatives. Kings ruled for nearly 800 years before a queen finally assumed the throne of England. Mary, Henry III's elder daughter, reigned for 5 tumultuous years. Her half-sister Elizabeth then ruled unchallenged for almost half a century. Bright, educated, and ambitious, Elizabeth courageously transformed England into a world power. She encouraged exploration and colonization. England challenged Spain for control of the seas and even defeated the mighty Spanish Armada. The prosperous island nation went on to produce great literature that included works of William Shakespeare. The Elizabethan age changed the world. So our lesson objectives: identify Elizabeth I and her accomplishments, describe English explorations in the 16th century and the explorers who led them, describe the causes and results of England's conflict with Spain, identify Edmund Spenser and William Shakespeare and their accomplishments, and identify Queen Mary and what she is known for. So this is where you're going to start your flip video lesson, your student guide. You'll notice that Queen Elizabeth I goes along with the very first question on your page. I believe it was 178. Okay, so this goes along with the very first question, and then they go in order. Elizabeth I was only the second queen in history to rule England. Queen Mary was the first queen of England. Many people were unhappy with her reign because she wanted to return England to the Roman Catholic Church. When she announced her plan to marry King Philip II of Spain, a revolt broke out amongst the Protestants. She revived laws against heresy and tried to outlaw the new Protestant churches. More than 300 people were burned at the stake for heresy, and many Protestants fled the country. She was often called Bloody Mary. Who was Queen Elizabeth's first problem? The first problem the Queen had to face was the religious turmoil. She tried to find a solution that would satisfy most of her subjects. She declared England a Protestant nation and restored the Church of England as the nation's official church, with the English monarch as the head of the church. For a while, she did not punish Catholics for practicing their religion in private. Catholicism in Elizabethan England. In 1571, Parliament declared it treason to question Elizabeth's title as head of the Church of England. That made the practice of Catholicism treasonous, since Catholics believed that the Pope was the true head of the church. English authorities confiscated Catholic church properties and executed 183 Catholics between 1577 and 1603. Francis Drake and the rivalry between England and Spain. Francis Drake was an English captain, a superb navigator, and an explorer. He was the first captain to sail around the world. He raided Spanish settlements in the New World and attacked Spanish treasure ships. Spain considered Drake a pirate. Queen Elizabeth pretended to disapprove of Drake in public, but in private, she was thrilled at the news of his exploits. Drake sails on the Golden Hind. When Drake set sail on the Golden Hind in December 1577, his job was to seek out opportunities for English trade and settlement, but he also wanted to sail around the world. Drake's journey around the world. First, the Golden Hind voyaged down the west coast of Africa, attacking Spanish and Portuguese ships along the way. After crossing the Atlantic, the ship survived a terrible gale in the Strait of Magellan, then sailed up the west side of South America. There, Drake plundered Spanish settlements and ships filled with Inca treasures. Next, he went across the Pacific Ocean, not seeing land for 68 days. He sailed through the Philippines, then onto the Spice Islands of the Indies. He crossed the Indian Ocean and sailed across Africa's Cape of Good Hope and up the continent's west coast. Drake and his crew finally returned to England 3 years after they had left. And again, you'll notice this goes right along with your student guide, so follow right along, and you can fill in those answers to those blanks. So Sir Francis Drake. To reward Drake for his voyage around the world, Queen Elizabeth I knighted him Sir Francis Drake. So he gained that surname. Sir Walter Raleigh. Sir Walter Raleigh was an accomplished soldier and sailor. He was also a courtier. He established the first English colony on Roanoke Island, located off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. The colony was named the Lost Colony because the settlers disappeared. But Raleigh had laid the foundations for further English colonization of North America. Raleigh's expeditions. Raleigh's expeditions infuriated the Spanish because they considered the New World to be their domain. Relations between England and Spain worsened. The Spanish Armada. The Spanish Armada was a fleet of Spanish warships sent to invade England. In 1588, most of the fleet was destroyed in battles with the more maneuverable English ships. The English lost only 100 men and none of their ships. The Spanish lost 2/3 of their men and well over half of their ships. The defeat of the Spanish Armada cleared the way for England to build its own overseas empire. Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser was a poet who wrote an epic poem called The Faerie Queene. He intended to write a poem that would be 12 books long. In each book, a knight met adventure and faced a trial to master a virtue, such as temperance, holiness, or courage. Spenser died before he had a chance to complete all 12 books. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was an English playwright who wrote dozens of plays, 38 of which still survive today. He drew his inspiration from Greek comedies and tragedies, Italian romances, and English history, as well as from street ballads and folk traditions. The legacy of Queen Elizabeth. By the end of the Elizabethan age, England was a formidable power with international reach and the champion of Protestantism in Europe. The nation had successfully challenged its rivals on the seas. England was forging worldwide trade networks. It had begun to establish colonies in North America. English men and women felt a new national pride. Shakespeare. Again, Shakespeare's first profession in the theater was an actor. Most of Shakespeare's plays fall into one of 3 categories: histories, tragedies, and comedies. Henry V and Richard III are histories that tell tales of English kings, both good and bad in times of war or rebellion. Macbeth, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet are among Shakespeare's famous tragedies. A Midsummer Night's Dream is one of Shakespeare's comedies. He is known as one of the greatest playwrights of all times. The Globe Theatre. The Globe was an octagonal building with a courtyard in the middle. Much of the theater stood open to the sky, so the Globe staged plays only in summer. When it rained, no performances took place. The Globe had no artificial lighting, so performances began at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a turret where a flag was raised to announce that there would be a play that day. The walls were 30 feet high. The people entered the Globe through a gate. There were 3 upper galleries covered by a thatched roof. The actors performed on a stage, but people who were willing to pay extra could also sit on the stage. The roof was painted with stairs to represent the heavens, and it had a trapdoor for characters to descend from the sky. The stage floor also had a trapdoor so that characters could appear or disappear from the stage. And if you look in your student guide, again, page 170, 170, no, 183. If you look in your student guide on page 183, there's a model there. It's not required, but those of you that like to work with your hands, those of you that like to make things, some art, some cutting and pasting, look on page 183, 182, 183, and 185 in your student guide, and there's some directions there for you if you'd like to make a globe theater. Theater terms. Where did the term box office originate? At the Globe, theater goers paid their admission for the play by dropping their money into a box held by the gatherer. Why were some of the spectators called groundlings? These spectators paid a penny to stand on the ground in the courtyard around the stage, and so they were called groundlings. Theater goers were a nuisance at times. Groundlings often drank too much ale, and they could get rowdy if they didn't like the play. They brought nuts, apples, and pears to eat, or occasionally to throw at the actors. At other times, they sang along to the songs or even jumped onto the stage to join in the sword fights. The richer theatergoers sometimes lost interest in the play and would talk, smoke, and play cards. Some heckled the actors, while others got up and left, chatting on their way out. People did not consider acting a fit profession for women, so all actors were male. And that is the end of our flip video. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. And this is the end. And again, you need to read your reading pages and complete your student guide. Okay? Thanks for joining me.